played a little bit on that. Had a good time with
Oh,
that.
did you?
Yeah, that little instrument. Margaret's gonna sell records and stuff.
Yeah, she's going to Hulk on after a while. Hear that?
Said you're gonna take care of the records. You're gonna pass
Oh,
to the
yes,
crowd and
yes.
sell. Well, what kind of employee is she anyway? Like 20?
Got two.
Two?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Enjoy.
Play another one, D.
Everybody from? Where are you from?
Yeah, born and raised in West Virginia, lived in Oklahoma.
Whereabouts down?
In Oklahoma?
Yeah.
Down west of Tulsa.
A lot of fiddlers down there. There was a bunch of them yesterday over Fiddler's Jamboree down here by the lake. A lot of Oklahoma fiddlers.
All that mountain music back here in West Virginia, too.
Yeah. You're in a different type though down in Oklahoma there, that Texas swing. A little different.
Bradbury's copy.
Wasn't on time.
Uh-huh.
Got a good sound.
Got a good tone. I like it.
Good sound guitar too.
Oh, that's a nice guitar.
Name something. What do you remember from your youthful days in West Virginia? Play what?
Let him play a song.
Oh.
Cumberland Gap, play that.
No, I
We know it, but we don't.
I never did play it. I've heard several versions of it too, and one thing's kind of making me up.
Get Purple Creek.
Huh?
Purple Creek.
Let's see. That it?
I can't remember.
Now I lost
We
the
haven't
rest
played
of it.
enough.
Shady Grove, Cumberland Gap. You play Cumberland Gap, can't you?
No.
No, I don't know that.
There's a lot of bluegrass songs.
Oh yeah.
Play Cheatham. That's close. Playing music over there?
Yeah, I used to play some.
I mean, in Oklahoma you playing in? Well, what town do you live in over there?
Tulsa County. Well, I live in Pawnee County, really.
There's Pawnee County's got a chapter of that Oklahoma Fiddlers Association. If you're interested in that, they have about once a month that's the North Central chapter. They've got a real active fiddle organization. Of course, they got a lot of bluegrass too. We got a lot of bluegrass.
This Scotty Stoneman, you probably heard of him.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Banjo player.
Yeah,
Fiddler,
fiddle
fiddler.
player too. Yeah, he won world championship fiddling there for several years. He's a part of that Stoneman family.
Yeah.
That, now that old girl that plays that dumb roll on Hee Haw with her
With her
teeth
teeth.
out, that's his sister.
Yeah.
Well, and they got the other sisters, quite a mandolin player
Yeah.
too. They were going to be somewhere. I saw Bluegrass Unlimited, that magazine, with those two, the girl, what's that one banjo player's name? Earl, not Earl, that's the other family. Anyway, they were going to play together somewhere, I know, saw that.
Very Montana Wolf.
That isn't it.
That's all right.
That's Clark. That's what I
Yeah,
was
this
thinking.
home is they're alike.
Almost the same. That doesn't know about it.
Love nobody.
1,000 versions of that. Different.
Lowground. We've got the office certificate there.
Didn't get run out, so they could say.
No, we never. I just butchered old pieces anyway. And I just don't.
Yeah, if you're a professional, you'd have to learn play actually.
I can do that. mine. I didn't. He must have parked
Right in front of the steps.
right in front of the steps. He did have a car. Here? He did have this Dodge car.
Oh, did he?
Yeah. Name something.
Who is that?
Fast.
Play Blackberry Blossoms.
Probably close to 100.
Beautiful, beautiful sound.
Uh-huh. Got a good sound. It, I don't know, I imagine about 1904.
Twinkle one?
No, we're from down by West Plains.
Oh, are you?
About,
We live on Pomona Route.
oh yeah. Pomona, I know where Pomona is. We're always having wrecks along by Pomona. I'm always hearing about it.
We live close to the Clark Church.
Yeah.
We have
So you're in that,
Pomona Route.
what I don't want to say, Howell Valley. What is Hutton?
County.
Hutton Valley. Isn't that Hutton Valley area? Isn't
We're
that
close to the Gunners Valley.
Okay, well that's that general area that I know.
They are Washerwoman.
Oh, he didn't go to Smithsonian. I went to Smithsonian.
He went.
Okay, what'd you play?
Yeah, but I didn't play anything for the Smithsonian. In fact, of all the times for me to go, their festival was all from Africa and the Caribbean, and there was no music.
Well, the ranger was telling us last Sunday about, I thought it was art.
No, I went to
Invited
things.
him to come to make a recording for the
No, you didn't go.
What?
No, the Smithsonian didn't ask you to come make
No.
a recording.
No.
Library of Congress we've done a bunch for when we've been up there, but not the Smithsonian. But I went to a 2-week deal, which was not music. I mean, it was different than music. It was a different type thing. But I didn't play drums, so I didn't get to play much music.
You play that kind of native music.
No, I was just out of there out of their music. They played some pretty music. They had a lot of these harp lights with gourds, you know, and everything. They played some pretty stuff, really, surprisingly so. Senegal was the country, which is really one of your higher developed as far as cultures go. They all, man, you should have seen the clothing the women wore. My gosh, bright designs and, you know, all hand-dyed and everything. Big turbans around, and the men all wore fezzes and the smocks, you know, but the real colorful people, tall, most of them, real statuesque people. Well, I went to a thing that the Smithsonian put on. There were 11 of us from the United States that went called Community Scholars. We were there for 2 weeks. But we were there. Our first week was the last week of the Folklife Festival, and we were on the malls where we met. So that's why we were in conjunction with that. The reason I was around it. We stayed at the same hotel at all those times. Then folklore related, in other words, is what it was. Coming back, a lot of people are playing it again. It's a pretty part. He left it out for a lot of years. He left it out. You know that fella that came up there? Huh? You know that first fella that came up there?
He's familiar, but I don't know his name.
Hello.
All right. I need to talk to you about a couple things about that before you leave.
Okay.
Is that a map? Mm-hmm. Of this?
No,
Vicksburg.
Vicksburg. Put this in the case here so I don't let it blow away. So.
That's it?
That's it. That's a Canadian waltz, isn't it? Interlake Waltz. Canadian. A lot of our tunes we play down here are Canadian. I've come by way of Canada, in other words. Here's another Canadian tune, Whiskey Before Breakfast. Don't you get that on your TV, that channel that has just no sound and gives the streaks saying what's going to be played where and when? Channel 20? Because I thought anybody that had cable got Channel 20.
We don't have cable.
Oh, you don't have cable?
No.
I thought you had cable. Oh. I thought you got cable. Oh, you got a color TV, that's what it was.
Yeah.
I knew something happened to your TV a couple of years ago.
Oh, yeah.
I thought you got cable.
More longer than that, I think.
Yeah.
No, but we don't have anything McCann to time.
Cable, okay.
Did get
Watching black and white TV.
Who?
Judge Souter.
Oh, well.
He's got a black and white TV. Whether he gets on the Supreme Court or not.
Oh, well, that's right. Oh, I couldn't think who you were talking about.
Yeah, they quizzing him about their thing, and they did find out that he still had black and white TV.
He likes my Friday night programs on 21.
Well, I saw this stupid, well, it's not stupid, it's the hottest thing going now. What's this, Twin Peaks or something? I watched one episode of that last night, and I couldn't figure out what was going on.
What's the name of it?
Twin Peaks, it's called. It's going to win half the Emmys or something on their deal they have. I couldn't figure it out.
I've heard of it, but I didn't.
Well, I couldn't see any point to it. Just
Then I need an
they
interpreter.
jumped around about 20 different plots it looked like, or I don't know. I couldn't, but I just decided I'm going to leave it alone, you know.
My dad used to just go and do what I was right about it, but he didn't understand. Guitar sounds awful good today.
Tuned it up, working up. Well, listen, there was $1 million worth of instruments down there. Yes, yeah, I never saw so many. And that too, somebody had in that Johnson group was playing their Martin really sounded good, man. They had a good sound. But they were all, of course, I like the learn some stuff, like the Major Friend stuff, you know. They're all Texas second.
Yeah.
You know that bunch from Arkansas down there play more.
Yeah, they do.
Play more Oklahoma almost than they do.
Yeah, than they do in Oklahoma.
Yeah. His dad played, well, his dad's 80, and his dad, it's getting hard to hear him, but he played one called, about Hooch. Not Andy, but about, what was the kind of prohibition, you know, what was the kind of moonshine, but there was another name they had for it. Anyway, but he'd play with it. I hadn't heard that before. It's kind of a rag type. I thought Jude would have known it, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I heard a good tune their boy played called Texas Fiddle. Have you ever heard that?
Oh, I think I've got it on the record.
Yeah, not real bluegrass either. But
Yeah.
the boy 12 plays real smooth. He's learning. I mean, he's still kind of shaky on some things, but by gosh, of course he's got a whole family that's got 2 generations ahead of him to learn, teach him. His dad's name was Odell.
Odell.
Good guitar player there. Had no teeth.
Didn't bite in.
Hazel looks real good. She's working down at Hazel Waltz. The spinner had lost a lot of weight, but looked real good, and is working as a hostess and cashier at Rock Lane Lodge, which is that big lodge down there, 13 or something. So she's working there.
Name that place you told, Big Cedar?
Yeah, Big Cedar Lodge, yeah. That's where this is.
Have you ever been there?
Been by it. I talk a lot of people have. It's Bass Pro owns it.
Yeah.
But they say it's really something.
You won't hear from her for a while.
Well, I'm kind of waiting to see if she calls us to see what the deal is. I'll call her this week if I don't hear from her. I will.
Maybe go down there and play me.
Yeah, for a banquet. The Missouri Arts Council board meeting. Well, it's their kind of an outing they're going to have. I think it's the board members. Might have been the staff up there. I can't remember now. St. Louis, which it was, but it's for them.
Let's play bull match.
Thank you. I'm glad you appreciate it. Throw money, don't clap.
What did he say?
He said that's good. I don't know. I'm trying to think where he works. He's a customer.
Do I know you? I can't place your name.
I don't know. What's your name?
Art Galbraith.
I'm Jess Hayes from Eldon.
Oh, no.
I guess I don't
No.
You look familiar, both of you, but I don't know.
Just got so many people in this area, everybody looks familiar anymore. Because they don't know who I know and who I don't know anymore.
Name a tune. That's it.
Kentucky Waltz?
Yeah.
Eldon? You from Eldon?
Yeah.
Originally, I mean? You know Bob Atkins? Last I heard, he was superintendent of schools of North Kansas City, but he's from Eldon.
Yeah.
Clotworthy?
I know
And
that.
Don Clotworthy's another one, I think.
Down yonder.
Sure like the sound of that guitar. That's an old one, ain't it?
About 62, 1962. Yeah. Yeah, it's got a pretty good bass.
Yeah, it's got a good sound. That fiddle has too. I've got a fiddle. Looks just exactly like
Yeah,
that.
have you?
Uh-huh.
I like that fiddle. It sounds good.
You have fiddlers in your family, or you a fiddler? Or?
No, my dad had 6 brothers that played the fiddle.
Yeah, well, that's not
And
uncommon.
he played the banjo.
Yeah.
And none of us fiddled. I tried to learn after 70 years old, and that didn't work out so good.
Let's see. Name another one. You know it.
Oh.
His dad used to play that.
Huh?
I think it's as soon as he used to play it, or his brother.
Yeah. Let's see. I can't think of anything anymore.
Oh, here, we'll play. This is considered a Missouri tune. You ever remember Blue
Yeah.
Mule? Blue Mule?
No. No. Just a
as far as we go with it. As far as we go with it.
You know the Wabash Cannonball?
No, I know what it is, but I never do it.
Well, you guys are a square clay Wagner. That's one of the.
Yeah,
That's real good.
Picture that I cut out of the paper where he was playing the fiddle for the Chicago at 101, and he was playing when you and I were young Maggie. Do you know that
place to come to?
Yeah, my grandfather fought here in the Wilson Creek
Valley.
Did. This uncle that I was telling you about is 105 years old. His favorite tune was Over the Waves. You know that one? Yeah.
cut it, keep it right on. That's the National Waltz of Mexico.
Yeah.
Sobre las olas.
Don't let them boss you, man.
Yeah.
Don't let them boss you around.
Have to take turn about. I used to boss them.
I know. Let's play the gig and the other together.
Over the water.
Yeah.
Yeah,
all of you still live there?
All but one. One of the boys lives in Rolla, Missouri.
Well,
The rest of them live in Memphis.
Well, I'll be.
Huh?
The last one, Irish Washerwoman. First part was over the water to Charlie's. I said big flat waltz. We don't do it. We know it.
I know
One of
I'll
these, but we don't play them.
I'll play you another big flat waltz. Oh, flowers from heaven. Seamus, that's a good waltz. Here's one, Irish waltz.
Your tune. I was trying to think of another, and I bet you do.
Here's one your uncle's played, Ragtime Annie.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Wagner are probably the two
Yeah.
main sporting things in this part of the country.
Hi.
Did it?
I've got a D35 Mark and it sounds just like that.
Yeah, this is, well, the newer Gibsons, I don't think.
Let's
they
see. You're
changed
good.
and-
You're good.
Yeah,
well,
You're
right,
good prompter.
I enjoy it.
Glad they're going to keep hazes up in Eldon.
Yeah,
now, see,
I'd like to stay and listen all evening, but I guess
they stayed long enough. They stayed long enough now, see.
Ain't there some place here where they got some old cannons and things?
Around the bend here.
Going around, there's got, now, I don't know if they're firing today. They usually fire a cannon over. Okay, that's over. You go across the bridge and back around.
Just like they got, it'll guide you right around there.
Yeah.
Isn't this a pretty place out here?
Oh, beautiful.
Hey, we got another place here that a lot of people that haven't been to. We got a conservation commission's got a nature center out here just for you across Lake Springfield. That is really something to see too. So some other time when you're down here.
Oh, yeah, I'd like
especially in the fall and spring.
I'm interested in conservation.
Well, you like this place. It really is.
I'm a good sportsman. I like to hunt.
Well, you like this place.
Let's see.
Yeah,
all of you.
enjoy these flowers.
All right.
Real good.
Well, we know there's going to be a lot of hazes around.
Keep up the good work.
All right.
You talked to them down there, didn't you, about your grandfather and everything?
Over there? No, I didn't.
You ought, no, now here, you ought to Y'all,
I told the lady,
Well, stop in the office when you go back now and register yourself and let them know about it, because that's what they want to do. They want to find out who the descendants are down in here, because they planned some things during the years for descendants. What regiment was he in? What was he in? Do you remember? You know?
What regiment?
Yeah.
I don't know
Was
for
it
sure.
Missouri regiment? Or
Let's see,
Union side.
Union?
yeah.
Missouri? Probably was. Well, you have to check in, and also they've got all the records. They can find out anything you want to know about him.
Yeah.
But when you go back, stop in there and let them know who you are and who he was and everything, because that's what they want to do is get a record of these things. So be sure and do that. Yeah.
Okay.
Take care of yourself.
Okay. See y'all again. Come down again.
They're having a lot of fun. They're having a lot of fun.
Yeah, all four of his boys.
St. Louis? Well, good.
Yeah. You used to play, or you live there? Are you from St. Louis? Did you ever used to go down to the Arch when they had the folk life festivals down there?
Never have.
Well, they quit them a long time ago. We used to play down there a lot.
We played a lot of times there.
At the Arch.
Not under the... That's a pretty sight on moonlight.
Yeah, it is. It's different every time you see it.
Yeah.
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 We've got a lot of people playing down like just you two.
Yeah.
Playing at Union Station now.
Oh, that are they?
Good.
So you might want to go down there and see about getting your
Well.
stuff lined up.
But that's, well, I'm wondering, how's that holding up out there at Union Station? Pretty good? Is it? Well, that's good. For a while, they were kind of wondering how it was going to go, you know.
I think it's doing okay.
Well, that's
A lot of
good.
tourists come there. so
Yeah,
it
well, that's
helps them.
good.
But they sit outside playing
Yeah,
music like
yeah.
this, you know.
I was up to
It's real
the
interesting.
Veil Prophet thing in July at St. Louis and played there.
Did you?
Well, there's a lot of music in this state.
Tell us a tune to play one time.
My uncle was Vern Hawkins.
Where's he from?
He's from Union. Originally we're from Vienna.
Yeah. There used to be a bunch of German fiddlers up in that area. A lot of them. Well, there were still used to be, and there's still a couple of German family bands up in there, up in that area, Augusta and around in there, you know. That's a shame that they don't. I'm glad to see they're trying to keep it going, you know, so they don't lose.
Let's play San Antonio Road.
A lot of them we know the tunes, but we don't play them, you know. Lorena,
No, I don't know.
never heard that one. That's a new one on there. There's a lot of tunes.
That's Civil War era.
Yeah.
I'll play
Oh, I've seen it in the printed in the books. I've seen that sheet music. No. Well, we probably heard them, but very few ballads are fiddle music. Well, you, Annie Laurie, some of those are, but
That's an old one too.
yeah. See, only if they were danceable. That's what fiddle music was dance music. So if it wasn't danceable, why they didn't.
play Marching Through Georgia.
There's Christian.
Cool with anything.
No, they didn't.
There's a Civil War tune, Marching Through Georgia. Dixie Blossom. Huh?
I didn't think I'd ever hear Southerners play Marching Through Georgia.
Now, this is your border state here, Grant. A little bit of both. I had one on each side. My grandparents, great-grandparents.
I had an uncle that was a Confederate. He'd leave the room if he played this.
Yeah, that's a pretty pro-Union song.
Dixie Blossom.
Virginia Reel.
I'll play you a tune that's, they dance the Virginia Reel to it. They know it's a cotillion, that type of dance. that's the Virginia reel type thing.
What a shottish.
Huh?
You ever shottish? Where you? You're not from here. Where are you from then? Raleigh. Are any of them still shottish over there?
I don't know. I doubt
They used to here. Rarely. You're welcome, sir. Doc Justice. You have it.
I'll get it from that.
Play Flowers Edinburgh. That's what you were about to play.
Oh. Yeah.
That second part before,
That's
that's in the music, and they cut it out years ago. It's coming back now. For some reason, made it too long, I guess, or something.
for listening.
Huh? That's very quiet. We hadn't played East Tennessee Blues for a long time.
All right. Let's play Tennessee Waltz. That's cleaned them out.
What's the F tune? B flat. What's an E flat tune?
Oh, I used to play a lot of
Turkey and
E
Straw
flat.
used to play E flat, didn't you?
Who?
You play Turkey and Straw and E flat? No.
No, B flat.
D flat.
Play it B flat. Key, yeah.
Playing the double eagle?
Yes.
We knew an old fiddle used to always say that's no place to be. I know you sure look familiar. I guess not. You from Springfield?
No, I live in Republic.
Republic. You both live in Republic? Huh?
Who's Mr. Galbraith?
Not here.
I knew some Galbraiths I went to school with down in Oklahoma.
In Oklahoma? Oh, you did? I don't think I've got any kin folks down that way.
Yeah, I went to school with him down there.
Well, what is his first name?
Owen.
Owen? Owen Galbraith.
Might have been one of the Galbraiths that's run into Indian territory. That's why you didn't know that.
Yeah.
What's your name, man? What's
Hemphill.
Hemphill?
Hemphill.
I know some Hemphill.
Hemphill's down
Oh, I
around
don't-
Crane, aren't they?
There's a lot of
Yeah,
them there.
yeah, that's the.
I'm not related to him.
Aren't you?
Were they any Littles or
My husband
Pierces
came
or
out of
anything?
Nebraska.
You
Huh?
what?
I think my husband came out of Nebraska.
Oh.
Let's see.
Wayne Galbraith.
Wayne? I know,
Then he
I've
used-
got a cousin, Wayne, and then there's another one here in
Used
the
to
phone
dance.
book here. Is he still in the phone book?
Who was the Galbraith that used to come over to Manuel's years and years ago as a jig dancer, or square dancer and did some jig dance. And that was a Galbraith. What was his name? Wasn't it? Can't remember. I always wondered if he was related to you. I never heard you mention him.
I don't.
There's a newspaper had a picture showing him and it gave his name, dancing. Yeah, and he was a Galbraith, and I always wondered, but I never did ever ask him.
I don't remember him at all.
Like something else.
Perkins Cross.
Name another one. Well, in Cabbage Town, we don't play too often. Play what?
Country dances?
Was it a Hemphill? Was it
No, he was a ring.
a ring? I'm only ring. Got around this part of
No,
town?
they're from Arkansas.
Oh,
That's by them feathers down. Thank you.
play McCraw's chord. 15 minutes.
15 minutes. Let's just see if we can remember West David Waltz.
We played in Lincoln 2 different times. Whereabouts near? I mean, what town?
We live in Hallam, which is a town, a little tiny town,
Yeah.
25 miles out.
We played. Let's see. We played a lot in Nebraska. We played Albion and Geneva and Central City and Seward.
I'm originally from near Geneva.
From near Geneva. Well, that's where we played that one.
Yeah, we played
There
there.
were some people named Nichols
Uh-huh.
and Bill Turek. Do you know people in that?
Oh, I know their names.
Yeah,
There's all kinds of
Bill's
people
with their
that
works. You know, they made a theater out of their old movie house there. You know,
Yeah.
it was. We played a lot of arts councils when we were in the Mid-America Arts Alliance, which was these states around here. We played it was government sponsored. We played lots of. So we played Nebraska. Like we played Omaha one time. But played all over Lincoln. Lincoln's a clean, pretty town. For a town that size, it really is. That's one of the nicest cities, small cities I've been in, I think.
We played at a little harvest.
Well, yeah, out on Saltillo Road.
Oh, the acreage.
It's gone now.
Acreage.
Somebody showed me it's gone now.
Is it gone now?
Yeah, it's still sitting there waiting
But
for someone
yeah,
to buy it,
well.
but-
Then we played in the that kind of amphitheater at the university. It's where their museum, where the art museum is. I mean, where they're.
Oh, out in Sheldon Art Gallery.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where we were, I think. Yeah, it's
Garden
adjacent.
there?
It's right all in one building there. And then we played in that thing at the university. And then we played at senior citizen places all over town too. There was a girl. Well, they weren't from there though. The people we stayed with.
No, not
He taught
really.
swimming at the university.
Yeah.
We're well familiar with Nebraska. We've really been.
We like Nebraska.
Yeah.
Big cornfields.
Yeah.
We
I
talked
noticed that around here. There's another cornfield.
Go 1,000
Field's
miles
very big.
and turn left. You know. That's that's the flattest country. I've never been any place that flat. You know. I went out in Seward. It was. I went out to walk around. and You said, "Don't fall off the edge." And I thought, that was true because that's really flat out there. Where was the river? Central City was a nice place too. That was all corn. Man, that was solid corn.
On the Platte
around there.
River.
Yeah, on the Platte River there. That was really cornfields around there. But that's just a nice state.
One woman who was a hostess to us brought her husband in, introduced him, and of course we're used to 40-acre cornfields here is the biggest thing around, you know. I said, "What are you raising?" He said, "Corn." I said, "How much you got?" "Oh," I said, "Not much, haven't done much lately." I said, "Just got 900 acres.
That's the most corn I ever saw.
What one we going to play?
I don't know. Let's play something fast. Play Waverly. We haven't played that.
Wait,
for
that's
Scott.
it. Yeah, that acreage was a nice place. They had everything there, didn't they?
It was a fun place to go.
Honey and corn and pumpkins and everything you could think
We
of.
stopped by to. They asked us to stop by to see about playing at the prison, but thank goodness that didn't work out. Our schedule wouldn't have permitted us to go through all the security they had there.
Let's play the last tune.
Okay.
Is that a request?
I think you ought to dedicate it to Mrs. Arts.
I think I'll do this. This is
Thanks.
for the pleasant summer you've spent with us. Let's play Golden Slipper. Play Golden Slipper. Play Buffalo Gal and Golden Slipper.
play 2 more.
Oh,
Our union rules won't let us play overtime. Yeah, it is. That's right. No snakes out of the tree either. You know,
I
that's
wondered if you'd check that out.
Listen, we had a thing coming on here one night. Were you working? You weren't here then, were you?
when the snakes fell out.
No, they didn't fall out. No, they didn't. They got up here. We had bales of hay. We had a spring social, and there was, they had, I don't know how many hundred people they had. They were just starting to bring them up. It was about 6 o'clock, and somebody looked up and said, "Look at that lightning wire moved." And we looked up right up there where that rotten place is, and there was a black snake up there, about this long. And I happened to look down, and here came one over here then, about this long. Evidently they were mates, you know. And he was a good 5 foot long. And we got to thinking, if we hadn't seen those, and here people sitting around, and all of a sudden a 5 foot black snake had fallen down in their midst, well, it could have been serious. You could have some heart attacks. We got them down. We took them and threw them over in the field over there. You know. Well, that could have made the headline at the park. Really, the first thing I do when I come over here, I always look right up there to make sure they're not back there.
Let's play the wolf because this is the tune we usually wind up.
One more faster. Well, that would give us time. Let's see. What's something we haven't done? Oh, that, yeah. What's that? Fix the hold down. We haven't played that in a long time, yeah.
This is an old from back in the 30s and 40s. People like Thank you very much. That's the last
That's
one.
the best of it.
Thank you. Thank you.
2.5 hours, that's not bad.
Enjoyed that.
Thank you.
Thank you.